Okay, welcome everybody to the Performing Arts Committee meeting on Wednesday, June 18th, 2025. Spanish and Chinese interpretation via Zoom and translation of meeting materials are available at no cost upon request. Please contact the city by 5 p.m. at least 2 business days prior to the day of the scheduled meeting by phone at 650-903-6608 or by email at mep@mountainview.gov. This meeting is being conducted with a virtual component. Anyone wishing to address the committee virtually may join the meeting online at mountainview.zoom.us/j/85206706172 or by dialing 669-900-9128 and entering the webinar ID 852-0670-6172. When the chair announces the item on which you wish to speak, click the raise hand feature on Zoom or dial *9 on your phone. When the chair calls your name to provide public comment, if you are participating via phone, please press *6 to unmute yourself. Roll call. I forget. Okay, wait, how do we do this? We just go around? Because when we have one
You
absent.
can call people's names, you can ask some staff to do that.
Okay, great, staff.
Chair David Garcia,
Present.
Committee Member Valerie Fenwick,
Present.
Vice Chair Carol Donahue,
Present.
and Committee Member Antara Arjwa, present.
And well, and
Oh,
then
Committee Member Yao is absent.
great. Item 3, minutes approval.
So does one say I motion to approve the minutes? Is that how it?
Yes, once we give a read through. And then it'll have a second.
Well, I don't have any corrections.
Anyone have a motion?
Valerie, I move to approve the minutes from last month's meeting.
Is there a second?
Aye.
All in favor?
I
Passes unanimously. Excellent. Okay, where? Oh, okay, great. This one. Oral communicate, item 4, correct? Oral communications from the public. Do we have anyone right now wishing to speak?
There are no attendees right now.
Oh, wow. Okay, number 5.
She's here.
Yeah, exactly, so true. We have that one person from last week who was so interested, or last month. Who was so anyways, come back. Okay, item 5, unfinished business, none. Yeah, excellent, we finished it. Item 6, new business, 6.1, Performing Arts Committee work plan.
So as you can see, you've got the 24-25 work plan in front of you. Some of these things will probably need to move forward. Some of them move forward on an annual basis. So the one thing, well, item A1, we are having a dickens of a time getting the downtown committee and we've got ad hoc members of the 3 different committees and getting everybody in one room at the same time is turning to be a little bit of a conundrum, I would say.
We can
So-
go over that and then
Yeah.
a little bit, okay, great.
Yeah, so that will need to move forward. So the goal, of course, was to try and have, some more stuff. We would have already met, but that didn't quite happen, so we'll need to move that one forward. And then,
Sorry, quick question.
Go
Is there a
ahead.
reason why we put 1, 2, and 3 together? I do not recall. Is they're all related?
Namely because, yes, 1, 2, and 3 are pretty much things that will all move forward. The National Arts and Humanities Month, we do every year.
Mhm.
The annual home company presentations, we do annually. I'm
That's
kind of going.
internal, correct?
Huh?
Internal, right? The presentation?
No, at the pack. The
Oh,
ones
yeah.
that they do here.
Yeah.
We-
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The only reason why I'm going over these is so that you guys understand. what we're doing. National Arts and Humanities Month, basically, it's a city proclamation. Staff basically puts that together and sends it to council, and then we usually have the vice chair and whoever else wants to come and you be present at the meeting. And October is actually National Arts and Humanities Month. The goal, of course, is always to get it to them, depending on where the dates fall at the end of September, so that we're proclaiming October as Arts and Humanities Month before October is here. I think one year
Yeah, the first year, that
it was like the,
25th.
yeah, it was like the end, but we couldn't make it on the agenda until the end of the month, so we were proclaiming October, and it was like October 20th already. So yeah, so it wasn't very good. So that's the goal. I do want to make a note here on the current status notes. That doesn't need to come in front of this body before it goes to council.
The National Arts and Humanities?
Yeah,
Okay, great.
yeah, so I'm gonna cross that out. And then the annual home company presentations, we have the 3 resident companies. We need to approve that because we're not resident companies. Upstage, TheaterWorks, Silicon Valley, and Peninsula Youth Theater. They may not all be in this order, but we usually have one a month, September, October, November. And it's kind of their annual, they come and tell us, how things went for the last season. Things, how their ticket sales were, which you already have their ticket sales information. What kind of marketing they did. What we typically do in August is the group will come up with specific questions that we want to ask the group, and we will send those out ahead of time so that when they come and do their presentation, the expectation is that they will answer those questions as part of their presentation. And anything else they want to add in. But that's the expectation.
Did we come up with those questions? Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Did we come up with those questions in August or we give them to them in August?
We come up with them in August and then we send them out to them ahead of time.
Okay.
They have plenty of time to. And last year, I think we actually did 2 in one evening. So this isn't set in stone because it also depends on their schedule. But we contact them and basically.
I just have a question on point of order.
Uh-huh.
Do you want questions like for each item as we go or?
Sure.
Okay. So I have a question on the thing you talked about a little bit earlier, so.
Okay.
On the ad hoc committees, do they need to meet in person or, I have experience with ATPAC, which is Active Transportation PAC, which was an ad hoc committee of, from different bodies. We were allowed to meet on Zoom, so I wasn't sure if that was an option for these committees. That may make it easier to schedule.
Our ad hoc committees have. Oh, you mean these guys?
Yes, you said it's been in trouble. It's been difficult to get them in a room.
We should ask about that.
And we can also bring this up a little bit later too, because there's some more questions, because I think we already have a little bit talked about some virtual components. But so that's why even after virtual components of the suggestion, I'm not sure what is timing, why the timing is taking some time. So that's my curiosity as to the downtown community revitalization program as such.
Okay.
So I think we can wait on that.
Okay. That's a good suggestion.
Well, I mean, it could be a hybrid.
Mm-hmm.
I think it has been suggested.
Yeah, I did suggest it to Kirsten. But I don't think it should be a problem, but when I was giving her the options for the times and dates I found that worked for 2 ad hoc members, I had mentioned that these could be hybrid. We can't all meet physically in one meeting. So I did put forward the suggestion, and that's what I'm gonna do moving forward.
Mhm.
As I pick dates and times, I'm gonna still include a hybrid option.
Right.
And then just to update, because I can, economic vitality. Is that division? Just went out of my head for a minute. It was like, what is it? They're without a department or a manager. So both Kirsten and Amanda are very, very over busy. And so Alondra has taken over the schedule. So
This is downtown committee or visual arts award?
The joint.
they're joint under the economic vitality. So those two humans are like juggling a little
Okay.
right now. So not that Alondra's not too, but
I have a question about the home company presentations.
yes.
Cedar Works offered to present mid-year and not
Yes.
wait until their October, November thing or whatever. I mean, do you think there's any need?
Well, did they offer or that's part of the agreement? If they come in at less than 65%, then they need to do a mid-year.
Is
Oh,
it,
that's part of
is it
the
the
term. Okay,
65?
Got that
Okay.
term.
If they come in less than 65%, then they have to do a mid-year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that triggers the mid-year.
Yeah, that's the.
Got it.
But their show is loading, well, they're doing invited dress tonight. One more show of this season.
Was it for this season or for the spring or wherever we're in? That's the 65. It's happening right now.
Well, it's all their shows for from September to, well, how do we do it? October to September.
Okay.
So, but this is the last show of the season.
Okay.
So, and then B is home company program review. That has been completed and went to council. February. City council, that was February of 25. I want to say it was February 11th, something.
Yes, February 11th.
So that is a big check mark. Done, 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 and done.
A big one.
It was
Big
a
one.
big one. So, review, we're in process right now, review of second stage fees and reduced fee program. It's the second stage vitality program. Which right now is pretty much in final draft and is been reviewed, and then my ad hoc committee, we need to have a sidebar afterwards. And then because we don't meet in July, it'll come to this body first and be approved, and then it will go to city council. So it's looking like what will happen is, best case scenario, it comes back to this body in August. Council does not meet in July and August, so we most likely won't be able to get on the calendar in September because it's really slammed. So we probably won't be at council until October.
So it just needs a timeline update right there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then last year, there was a review of Art and Wine Festival, observations for suggestions on how to participate in upcoming years. I go every year, but I'm just not sure how Performing Arts Committee would participate, short of having to.
Is there a fee? What would the fee be?
Oh, I don't remember that.
I think,
Pretty high.
but I think
pretty
I would double check that. Because I think like political work, nonprofits one have a different
Oh,
rate, and then
yeah.
also I don't know what city, because they're the chamber, so,
Yeah,
but so.
That's the
But
free
still,
speech
like-
area.
The free speech area for sure, we could definitely have I think that's no cost.
but that's like, we have to be down there for.
Yeah, well, so I was thinking too, so having gone through all of this, one of the things is that, so we have some internal facing things like like the home company presentations. They are internal facing, however, they are open to the public. And I do think that when we are going to our revitalization meetings, it would be intriguing for us as a body to have some type of outward facing agenda. How are we particularly helping with revitalization? And I do think that taking the work plan might be a moment to say, what directly do we feel like we are offering, starting with just that question. When approaching the downtown committee and the visual arts committee as to what role are we as a committee looking to play in kind of these conversations, even though it's an ad hoc as well. So, but to my mind, that we are looking in some level for some public program or something, whether that is being a booth at the Art and Wine at one level, whether that is suggesting to council an allocated speaker series at the Performing Arts Center that is funded or something of the such. That's another two different, very different possibilities, but that's kind of where my brain is going with the Art and Wine thing, just giving it some more teeth, even if it's not this go around, maybe 2026 or something. Start putting it on our work plan now,
When is the Art and Wine Festival?
September. I don't know exactly the date.
It's usually the first weekend of September.
The first weekend or the first weekend after Labor Day, I think.
It's not, it's whatever, it's not Labor Day.
Right.
Yeah,
the weekend
it's,
after.
yeah, it's the weekend after Labor Day.
After
Okay.
Labor Day.
Whatever it's worth, BPAC has done booths
Mhm.
there. Maybe, I don't know if it's the free speech area or whatever, but we've done that. And people come in and ask us about our work items and different things. And take shifts. Just make sure there wasn't more than two of us, so we didn't accidentally have a meeting. And yeah, it was pretty fun, but it did require our support staff. Yeah, it wasn't.
So the city has you got me thinking along a different line. The city has the police department and, well, our division has a booth, right?
Mhm. I mean,
So, I mean, it seems to me that
You mean
that
the
would be a
department?
good,
The
yeah, the
department does.
department. So, I upgraded it to a division. Could be a good way to recruit for, advisory bodies in
Mhm.
general. And I don't know if that's done at the Art and Wine Festival. So when when BPAC had their presence there and people asked, then they were just finding out about that. But maybe there's a way for different advisory bodies to take shifts.
Oh, for it to be more holistic.
To be it more, exactly, to be more holistic, and then we all wouldn't have to spend the whole weekend talking about Performing Arts Committee, which.
Well, what immediately comes to mind is maybe this is one of the things we collaborate with the other two committees that affect the downtown
Potentially.
and visual arts
Yeah.
committee, like,
Yeah.
because that's very synergistic of like, we're
Mhm.
all.
Well, that could just be, again, just, yeah, so
Yeah.
talking, it could be a talking point, but also, I guess, yes, structurally.
Proposing the idea that all three of us have some representation
Yeah.
at some point during the festival.
Yeah, well, so, I was looking online, I thought I had 2 more years to go, but I think I term out at the end of next year. So it takes people a while to decide if they want to apply and to look into things and stuff. And so getting out there and promoting it now is a good way to keep PAC full. I mean, I'm not gonna run for a 4th term, I feel I accomplished a lot with the home company review. I really did that. So, and it's been a kind of a long-term problem with PAC having enough people, even to have a quorum sometimes. So,
We're a senior committee as well.
yeah.
Well, I think we're unique in the sense that the folks that would be the most interested to sit on this body are the folks that are attached to our facility. But if you rent the facility,
Right.
you're ineligible to sit on the spot.
Which,
So,
yeah.
That's a little bit of a conundrum because, the folks that are the most, that use the facility and are like, oh, in fact, we did a tour and then there were folks that were like, oh, you need people on the body. And of course, the first one right out of the gate, it's like, oh, yeah, I'm with, Peninsula Youth Theater. It's like, can,
Right.
Well, I think the other thing too is, I'm just kind of brainstorming here. In preparing for this, if it does happen, to have, like fact sheets or something like,
Mhm.
what kind of skills are needed
Mhm.
to be on the Performing
That's-
Arts
yeah.
Committee? Like, I've always thought that, PR or something like that would be a good skill.
Mhm.
And, so just suggesting people think about that. I don't know.
And I'd even love like a sheet that describes exactly what the Performing Arts Committee does and what your role is, because I was trying to describe it to someone and I realized I didn't really know how to explain.
I
We
think-
need an elevator pitch.
Yeah.
I
Yes,
do think,
yes.
and I think that's kind of the nature of my question too, because we are in the conundrum, right, of people who are using the facility cannot, for conflict of interest, be on the committee. And that's not changing, because it can't change financially. So so the identity does come as to who are we pulling from, and then to what use we are, which again, the balance between internal or external facing is kind of the big challenge. Because theoretically, if we had an audience that we were attached to, we would be stewarding the audience, right? We would be stewarding the use of the facility through the community. However, that's not currently the lens that we have, is my understanding. And so in lieu of us not having a community base, I think that's a bit of the conundrum as to why, when we face something like going to the Art and Wine, why we're unable to immediately think of something to share with the community.
Mhm.
But it does maintain that then if the Performing Arts Center is not focusing on arts and culture in the city, who is? So that's another thought too, that would require us to re-angle and kind of focus on in coming meetings, something to again say to the public and kind of coming up with an elevator pitch of sorts. But we'd have to create that, I think, as we went along.
The other thing that comes to mind is that 2026 is the 35th anniversary.
The 35th
35th.
and the 250th of the nation,
Yeah.
and
Wow.
Donald Trump's 80th birthday.
Oh, joy.
So anyway,
But just throw that out there because like that could be, we could start a teaser of because we're obviously gonna have to have some kind of event for our anniversary.
I have a question around conflict of interest, like, if there's like, say, a parent of one of the kids in PYT that's super involved, is that also a conflict of interest for them to,
If they're enrolled,
so their entire community is out?
Yeah.
Not just board members and staff or kind of thing.
Because theoretically, you could get 5 parents
Okay.
to sit on the
I
committee.
mean,
and then-
Yeah, that's true.
I realize
That
it.
makes sense.
See that.
Yeah.
I've seen board members, people paid.
well, I don't know how many times I've said to people when they get enthusiastic, like, you should have this kind of programming and this other thing, and then they say, we don't do the committee doesn't do programming. You're like,
Right,
oh, what do you do? And then that's the stumbling thing.
I mean, are we interested in having more people from the community who are currently there in some way incorporated into the Performing Arts Committee though? I mean, because we can do an ad hoc, we also could do a listening session, there are multiple things that we could do
Mhm.
that would allow community to have a voice.
I really like, David, your suggestion of like a listening session where it's a specific agenda item that we want to hear from performers or people who use the space. We could probably shape a little, come up with a couple of guiding questions or something that would bring people to this committee. This was a committee I didn't know much about until John McAllister told me all about it, because it's not one, you hear about the EPC because they just did this, you hear about a lot of the other committees because we're like inward facing, like you said.
Mhm.
But it also gets a little, so I like the idea of maybe putting on our work plan, having one agenda, at least agenda item dedicated to listening session for performers and users of the theater, for the PAC to hear from them. Perhaps, I know it has to be staff approved as an agenda item, but I like that idea a lot of.
Well, in the past, there's been something called develop one or two outreach programs or something vague like that. So if it's not real specific, You know, you can have a listening session or you can decide to do something else.
I wonder if like that listening session would be combined with like the announcement of the second stage program. They have
The Vitality Program?
Vitality program.
Yeah.
So we invited all the local companies, say, put out the questions or topics that we're gonna be discussing and then announce this program.
Could be a good way to kick off
That would be a nice
Yeah.
kickoff. Because I'm trying to figure out how frank I can be. Well, our fees are going up,
Mhm.
and so
When?
next Tuesday, that gets voted on and.
Oh, at council.
Yeah, that council, and that goes into. So- Where I'm going with this, like, I can tell you what that listening session would turn into.
Mhm.
And so like, and then the goal, my intention too, because our fees haven't gone up for 15 years. So we're
Mhm.
kind of making a little bit of a leap here, more so than I would. Like, how do I say this? My recommendation is we need to do this more consistently.
Mhm.
And it's like you raise the fees
Every year.
every, so often. And certainly like our convenience fees for tickets are so under right now. I need to do them like 25, 50 cents every year for probably the next 5 years to get us where we should. The concern, of course, that I'm concerned about is that second stage is that's our little conference. They don't have the funds. And so what I was hoping is that when we did raise the fees, that the Vitality Program would be valued at the same time, so I could, when I get the phone call of like, we can't come now, or I have to not do 3 shows, I can only do 2, or, whatever that conversation is gonna be, I would have this ready to, and we're not there yet. So that's, the timing of that is like really awkward for me.
It's an upcoming option still for them,
Yeah.
though. I mean, it needs to be passed by council, but still a possibility.
Yeah, it's still, I don't think it's not gonna happen.
Right.
It'll get passed. It's just,
Our-
timing is everything sometimes.
Right, and so our next meeting is August.
Mhm.
Yes.
So there's time, maybe it wouldn't be our first agenda, maybe we wouldn't have our listening session till September.
Right.
Yeah. Well, it won't, yeah, and it's not gonna go to council until probably October.
Well, what's not going to council, the
The,
vitality.
yeah, it's
So
gotta
not
go
yet.
to council to get
And
approved.
what, because our work plan has to go forward, like in
Yes.
July, right?
Yeah.
So it might be worthwhile to still have a.
Well, no, this won't go, because they don't meet in July. So this won't go until September, the work. They don't meet in July and August.
Oh, so they don't approve our work plan until we've already started.
Oh, so we have time. Excellent.
Excellent. I love that. I love that. Thank you for that timing clarification. So I love though, it sounds like there's, I don't know if you need a motion, but it sounds like there's general support for putting some kind of agenda item that would, we can shape it such that it's not like come and complain to the PAC, but like, we want to hear about your experiences using the theater, what do you love? What's one thing you would change if you had a magic wand, those kind of
Mhm.
things, and just be open, and it may help shape future agendas and future work plans.
What I would love is to not some, I don't have, I'm trying to be gentle. I would love to have a listening session with future or potential
Yes.
audience folks, the demographics that we don't typically have in the facility. And what do they want to see?
I
Like,
do,
what do they want?
I do hear a couple of different listening sessions actually coming out of our
Yeah.
conversation. I also think that there perhaps might, it might move the community of who is already using the facility. I mean, I presume, who is going over with the fee raises and all of that with them currently? Are you going to be the?
Well, that was sent out.
Uh-huh.
Like, none of this has been done in secret. I mean,
Right,
everything was sent out to
Right.
all of our clients. This is the document. This is where you can find them. We had a few responses. And then, I answer questions and that sort of stuff. And then it goes to council. And then, of course, when it goes to council, then you have a few people that are like, oh my gosh, I didn't know about this. And then you answer those questions and that kind of stuff. For the most part, there haven't been that many issues or complaints, so to speak. But it also hasn't gone into effect yet.
Right.
So
That's my question.
That's where I'm like, you know,
Um,
the rubber hits the road here.
And I think this goes into other kind of, not just the work plan, but I think it might also, if we could, I mean, the fees are there, but if you guys wanted to, if staff could give us a breakdown of the way that the fees are increasing and the impact it's gonna have on the center, I actually think that might be an interesting thing for us as a committee to see from staff, and then also if community wants to join in for an overview of how the fees schedule is changing, that actually might be a great meeting to come back to in August. Prior, just something to reviewing the changes in the fees, because I think that would also give us a clearer sense of, one, what the fees are, but two, how it would be impacting the clientele basis that's already there.
Mhm.
So, and any future kind of just having clarity on that. So that's a potential kind of just agenda item that I think that would be great to put on. Yeah.
I second, I know it's not a formal motion, but I second that idea. I think it would be good for us to have that information. Distilled format
Yeah.
with context, yeah.
The agenda item is talking about the listening session or having the listening.
This first one, well, the first one that was just currently mentioned was just giving the fee schedule that is changing, looking at the impact with context for the clientele basis that's already in the Merit Center.
So that's like the fee change schedule is being voted on, so this would be just telling us about it, not really getting input.
And who's gonna do that again?
Well, it would have to be staff that would give the
Staff,
update.
yeah.
I think,
Okay.
But
Well, it makes sense.
Well, that's an August
August.
agenda item.
That seems like one that, given that
Yeah.
the piece is going to council next week,
Yeah.
you should have the time to,
And I
you
do,
have the information.
and I do think then adding just a glimmer of hope with introducing the the Vitality program would be, that would be a good place to kind of just say that it's already in the works too, so then later on when we do mention that community already has some scaffolding for it in their mind. So that was one thing, and then the other thing that, Carol, did you have something to say though?
Did I what?
Did you have something to add? Phil? Oh, okay. And then going back to the listening sessions, which could be a part of our work plan, would be then that would be specifically to, there were two that came out. So one looking at performers and people who are currently using the center. And then another one would be for people who are not using the center, new audiences, things like that. That's two listening sessions I want to point out. There might have been a third, but those were at least three things.
Well,
that
I think
came
we
out.
talked about, we mentioned like the Vitality program rollout.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that should be like, here's our program, this is what we're doing. We should do a more formal rollout of it so that people know that.
That might be more like October timeframe.
Yeah, that's probably gonna, because by the time it goes to council, we can't do anything till this. That will be October, November, so we probably wouldn't be able to roll out such a.
That's what I see as
So-
well.
The listening session could be a talking point for the tabling at the Arts and Wine Festival. Do you think we were that?
Potentially, right? That could be a talking point, yeah. I also think this actually addresses any outward this is a perfect like phase one to any outward facing component for the public, because this is immediately already engaging people close to it's already in our target demographic and then expands out slightly. But it gives a proper channel for community communication to occur. That's kind of nice. As well as key stakeholders.
And I think back to the art and wine, I think the suggestion was maybe a group with a few other committees that we could staff throughout the 2 days. It's 2 days.
It's 2 days, yeah.
Not everybody would have to be there all day or any day, just an hour or two. Yeah. Really interesting.
Okay, so as far as the work order goes, for all of this that's been discussed, I've seen this text used before, develop 1 or 2 additional outreach events and or programs. So it can be a listening session or not, because if it's whatever's in the work order is what we can do, not what we must do. Right, it sounds like we're probably gonna do it, but.
But if it's not there, then it's much more challenging to do, right?
What was the?
Well, right, if you say, but if you say we're gonna do a listening session and then we,
Do something different.
yeah.
What was the
So-
word? There are 1 or 2 additional outreach events or programs. Yeah.
That was our, work plan 2 or 3 years ago.
But that, but I think we were specifically talking about doing it as a meeting agenda item, and that kind of reads like going to the, like an outreach event sounds different than a outreach topic.
Both roads lead to Rome a little bit.
Yeah, I think I mean, I'm just saying, I think the exact wording's probably not quite right for like, I understand what you're saying, Carol, we wanna be a little vague, because it gives us wiggle room for how we actually implement it. But that's why I was saying, like, it could be an outreach event / agenda item / you know, just kind of to allow us to either be in the meeting or an external event, because it's not.
Do we want to say agenda?
Does it matter? I mean, do we have to put agenda items on the work plan?
I was kind of curious about no, right? So
No.
technically, because if we're doing it this way through the committee as agenda items, well, we'd still want something on the work plan though, regardless.
Right, I think something on
Yeah.
the work plan, I'm just saying whether or not we do it as our meeting topic for the evening, where it would be an agenda item where people would come and
Mhm.
talk, or we do an outreach. For me, outreach event means like going to the Art and Wine Festival, going to the some other like city events, I'm trying to think of other ones, like the Tech Festival, or something, and having a booth there, like, or doing a special night in the second stage would be like an outreach event.
Right.
Which I'm not against that either, but I think they're two different things than doing a listening session during a meeting.
Do we want to? This is taking one, do you have one more? Or is that-
No, but I disagree. It works for staff, and
You disagree?
I do agree.
Oh.
That's what I thought too. I also heard disagree, but then I felt agree in the body. I just went with
I'm sorry,
that.
I do agree with Carol that we want to keep it a little vague, not just, I understand what you're saying, we don't say
Not to box
have
us
a,
in.
Yeah.
have an agenda meeting that's gonna be exactly on this topic, and then if we go, well, that's not quite the topic we want, or we wanna do it a little differently, then we're stuck.
One question too, so in regards to that as well, we were talking about developing some sort of thing now for the, what anniversary is it? 35th?
35th.
For the 35th anniversary, so we could tie it to that, again, an outreach program with some level of intention and putting it on the work plan, so that would be 2 additional things. We would have these, whether we call them listening sessions, we can discuss that in a second, but and then actually developing something for the 2026 year, however we want to go about doing that.
Well, about the 35th anniversary, I don't remember if it was 25th or 20th anniversary. There was, I don't know if it was, I think it was a 1-day event. And actually, somebody termed out the former PAC chair.
Mhm.
And he also retired, and so he set up shop in the offices there and kind of volunteered his time to mastermind the celebration.
Oh,
And so, well, he's moved on and I used to keep in contact with him every time I was trying to recruit somebody. I'm like, hey, Ray, you know anybody who wants to be in a PAC? But, they contacted everybody who'd performed at the center over the previous 20 or whatever years it was, and asked them if they would like to donate a free performance to celebrate this thing. And they were able to get together a full day thing. And it was a rotating thing. There was something in second stage, something on the main stage, and something, I think, in Park Stage
mhm. Yeah,
happening
I've got
simultaneously.
the whole roster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I
I
have
mean.
everything from the 35th.
That's a very ambitious thing, but you're staffed up right now and then PAC. I don't know, maybe we could volunteer a little, I don't know.
Help out, yeah.
Well, so, and I do wonder though, I mean, it would be interesting to get funding for the 35th. Which is possible, right?
Mhm.
but through PAC rather than through budgeting. That's my question.
What would be the,
If we recommended to council to create a 35th anniversary program for the, not a full program, but a program that was under that PAC could help and or staff and PAC is staff and community could work with, I think that might be an interesting project that could be lucrative in multiple ways for the city, not just lucrative monetarily, but
yeah,
so that's my thought, is it being a council program for the 35th anniversary of the.
do you think that, because I mean, I'm come October, I'll be putting in for the budget for the 26, 27. So I have every intention of asking for much money, but
Mhm.
do you think that'll help? It's committee driven too?
Yes. In what capacity do you mean? I think it would.
I just, I'm not sure, but you guys aren't funded. That's where I'm like, and that's what I'm struggling with is like, this body doesn't have a budget. You guys aren't funded. So I'm not sure how that,
I think we should ask council to create something at least
like
for
a
the,
one-time
yeah.
anniversary fund.
Mhm.
I think for our work plan for next year, maybe a big item is like, we get,
Well, we have
some kind of
planning.
some kind of planning topic. It doesn't, yeah, but. And it doesn't, it can be, you know, key milestones and
Well,
that would be a really fun thing to work on.
it would be a fun thing to work on, but I think as far as the general management of the project, that would be more easily done by staff.
Yes, yes. I think it's coming in, having a way to put our input into the planning, having a way to hear what's going on, having maybe as Dougie suggested, some discretionary budget where maybe we could pick some of the performing acts or something and reimburse them or, but I think, yeah, it would be staff picking up the phone and opening space and making all the magic happen.
Yeah.
Does that sound aligned with
Yeah.
what you're thinking? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I wanna have
So-
input, but I think the staff is tasking to do it.
PAC itself didn't really get involved in that last celebration, which doesn't mean we can't do it now.
Well, I think of you guys as our ambassadors. That's where I think the
Yeah.
disconnect has been. It's like staff would plan something and then PAC would just kind of show up, you know? And it's like if we plan it appropriately, like lead time and the way that it, then that means, you know, so just for sake of conversation, let's say somebody that performed, 10 years ago, but I don't know them or have a relationship, and maybe you do know somebody that sat on the board or whatever, it's like, then that's the helping kind of stuff that a committee can do. It's like, oh, wait, but I know this person who knows this person, and, let's call this group that used to perform here and let's see if they can come, or if they moved on, or you just,
I might be thinking a couple too far in advance here, but I do foresee the downtown and visual arts committee and us needing some sort of something that requires, I foresee us needing funding for something in the future, truth be told, that is within PAC's domain, based on the direction that we are going with our partnerships with other committees. That I just foresee that some level, whether it's with the 35th anniversary or something else, that we will need a speaker series. Not necessarily with people who are currently in the theater, but it could be with a different audience or demographic. But I foresee us needing something in that realm to work with that is connected to PAC's discretionary, or that's connected to PAC, connected to council. But
well, even if it's as simple as, we've talked about this committee before anyways, this is part of like getting the three committees together, was like, if we did a gallery reception, like where the artist, it's like the artist that's hanging there right now comes and speaks, and we have a reception and we have a downtown restaurant for, if we do all that, that's money, that costs money.
which is not an exorbitant
And that's all
amount.
three committees,
Mhm.
like working together, because I think the more that we work with the downtown committee, then I think we're a little disconnected. I know it's only a block, but it
Yeah.
feels like it's a mile. We're disconnected from everything that's going on in the new downtown. And then we have these visual artists that, you know, that come and hang their work and the audiences see their work, yes, but like, does everybody know that that's happening? You know, it's just, you know, on top, you know, it's like, it's just the synergy is not there with,
Yeah.
with all three.
Yeah, like something maybe to celebrate when that art is hung. How do we change it? Every quarter or every?
Well, it varies, but it's usually every 6 weeks, 2 months. It depends on the artist.
Oh, okay.
And so, you know, that's, again, that's the other committee,
Mhm.
you know, and just, you know, it gets installed and then the other one does a de-install and does that, but, you know, they have to do that for every artist that we have is, you know, to have a
Wait, also
reception,
every 2
maybe,
months.
but is too much, but even if we could just do,
Twice a year.
yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen 4,
Four
but you know,
times.
I was
but you know what I
thinking
mean, like, you know, like.
Have everyone there.
Can, you know, just the synergy of having everybody in the room and then inviting people, inviting the businesses from downtown. I mean, I have to question how many of these restaurants even know that I exist.
Right,
you know.
well, they know. But
Their
getting,
waiters don't know.
well, no, their waiters don't, but getting, you know, a center for the city is, you know, a center for the city.
There is precedent for what you're suggesting, because when I was given the history of PAC from the beginning, city council used to grant $1,000 a year to PAC. And I don't know exactly what they did with the money. But anyway, they stopped doing that. And my first year here, someone who apparently was on PAC before I came on, decided that she needed to pay more attention to her dance company.
Mhm.
And so she resigned and then she said, well, I want to donate performance as a fundraiser for PAC.
Hmm.
And so we sold tickets, we put together a silent auction, which meant knocking on doors
Mhm.
and, you know, getting Pascal and all these other, you know, to give $100 gift certificates or whatever it was they gave. Silent auction was a lot of work, but it was actually a lot of fun and it did kind of raise some awareness. So I don't know if we want to do anything like that, but having it connected to some other benefit is, you know, usually how silent auctions run.
Truth be told, as we also go about doing the agendized sort of listening sessions as that moves forward, I mean, when we're speaking with new audiences or just speaking with current users of the facility, it gives us a chance to also talk about how we want to go about something like the 35th or things like that possibly as well, if we wanted to tie that in, or as we're tabling at the Art and Wine, we can just begin whatever that ends up becoming. This is just, again, that first phase.
I like that because I feel like it's a precursor to that we're gonna have this 35th event. And then if we're talking to the users of the facility, it's like, of course, we want you to be part of that. And then what else do you have to tell us?
Mhm.
You know, kind of conversation.
Right.
I like that a lot. I think that's a great way of framing it.
Yeah, even similarly how you brought your back history of how previous ones were done, I'm sure all these companies have their own history of how they've done
Mhm.
celebrations. Brings more ideas.
I have the agenda for the 35th. I have some for the 25th, but not as much. That one's not as sold information, but
Oh, yeah, probably a lot of those companies don't exist.
yeah, some of them, you know.
10 years ago.
Yeah.
I had a question, just because it was just mentioned, I can't remember, but I think my name was you, Carol, the park stage. When we were being interviewed, council held, like, had a lot of, I felt energy around activating that stage. And I don't really, you know, like, we, as when we were being interviewed, have all kinds of ideas, but then I don't really see now that I'm on PAC how PAC could help activate that stage.
It's our most unused space. It really is. but it's also, how do I say, like one thing at a time is kind of my mantra right now. It's like, we just finished the resident company, which solves some scheduling issues and things. And then the vitality program is second stage, and that will revitalize second stage. And then my goal would be like, once we get that up and going, then it's like, we look at park stage, would we do a similar kind of vitality program for park stage? It's just not utilized that much, but I will also say that it's poorly designed. So it's really,
You need to move all those trees back so that there's more place for people to go.
and you know, we love our trees here, so.
Sure do.
Not gonna happen.
But it really, I mean, it's kind of, there's no outdoor light bar, there's no, you know, there just isn't like the basic things that you would have at an amphitheater.
Yes.
And then we have this, you know, grass bowl, and it's like,
I mean, it's
okay.
designed for. Come back, but it's not designed for production.
Well, no, but even, it's not even designed, I mean, how do I say this? It's designed for the guy with a microphone and a guitar.
Yeah.
It is not even designed for 5 actors
No.
to do a little bit of Shakespeare. I mean,
Right.
it's just like, it's really, that's what I mean by like, it's like, cause I love a good amphitheater and I'm just like, oh, you know, there's,
Okay, that's it, because,
Yeah.
just for what it's worth, I watched my neighbor's kid do a production with their school, in their parking lot, somewhere here in Mountain View.
Mhm.
But like, they were just on the ground, and we all just sat on the ground in the parking lot.
Mhm.
So like, if we could,
Been there, yes.
somehow like, but it was a good show, it
Oh,
was
yeah.
a small, you know, but like, I don't know, like, something, but maybe you, like you said, maybe that's future after second
Yeah.
stage revitalization.
And then the other, and when I say poorly designed, part of the problem is that, so then I have second stage, and on the backside of that wall is park stage. There is not a sound barrier, so if I have something that's loud in second stage, it bleeds through and vice versa. So I can't have things going on
Same
at the
time.
same time. And that's what I mean by poorly designed. I mean, there's other little issues like, you know, the trees should have been further back and, you know, like it could have been a little better as far as like a park area, but like it's workable. But I can't have things going on at the same time.
We could add this to a listening session. We
Yes.
could intentionally specifically say utilization of, I mean, that could also be a great moment to contact educators and invite educators directly if we add that to this growing actually, this is great to add this on to say, yes, you know, because it is usable and they would have to rent it and they have to know the renting process. I imagine it's a lower fee.
Oh, yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
excellent.
it's not expensive at all.
Right.
And it's not a bad space. It's, you know, it's just, again, programming, you know, like my concern in the moment, so to speak, is we've got this vitality program and then I get second stage hopping. And then it's like, that's why I'm saying one thing
I
at a
see.
time, because if that really kicks off, okay, then that limits what I can do on the other side.
Yeah.
And which is just so unfortunate,
Mhm.
like, you know, but
Maybe they're
then,
doing something unamplified though. Maybe they're doing something, I don't know.
yeah, exactly, you know. I
So
mean,
it's
if you're out there
possible.
doing Edgar Allan Poe readings.
I was just
like,
gonna say.
Yeah,
You
there
know,
you go.
like,
That'll draw a crowd.
you know.
You never know.
But that's the kind of stuff that I like, you know, why are we not doing that at Halloween? Like, why are we not doing, like, you know, Edgar Allan Poe?
So, and it is, and it
You
counts.
know, like.
Yeah.
Council and any division can approach the Performing Arts Center at any time to host a program, right? Technically. The city can approach the center, but the city does not, right?
If the city wanted to do something.
If the city wanted to do Edgar Allan Poe, if council or someone, maybe council, maybe not a good one, but if someone else wanted to do Edgar Allan Poe, they could approach you and say, can we do Edgar Allan Poe, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. So, to the point of, it's not an issue that people can't do it, if there are people on council who want the park stage to utilize,
Yeah.
can be utilized.
I'm. There was the park stage and I think you wrote it down, that gallery reception. I love that idea of just activating that space.
Mhm.
I came to the outdoor concert series last Friday
Mhm.
and there were people come, I think there was another production happening, so it was kind of, the space just felt so lively. Like there was stuff happening in the theater, there was stuff happening, you know, out in the square, there was people playing cornhole, that was, I thought a great opportunity because I did see people from that center, but there, so that was kind of neat. I was talking to somebody at the State of the City and they said they donated an outdoor piano to the Performing Arts Center.
Yes, it's in our basement. And we have a second one.
We have 2 pianos.
What?
So it's a like a program where I saw it in use in Paris, actually, at a very busy train station. People just play piano and it's beautiful. It was, well, we're all standing in line to do our immigration from,
Oh,
I'm going in.
while going into the train station, because it's kind of like in a big mall. So the mall was built around the train station, but like you have to then wait to do this special security thing and people playing piano, and that's the same kind of thing. I've seen that downtown Truckee has an outdoor piano.
We had it in downtown Lancaster.
Morgan Hill had it, yeah.
Yeah, so the struggle, of course, we initially tried to do it outside, was finding a place for it, and then also risk management. The cover that comes down, somebody could slam it down on somebody's hands and just turned into those like,
No recreation here.
you got way complicated. really fast.
Which is
But
a
Right,
habit
now
the
we
city
have
has.
I mean, on a positive note, we now have a new risk manager, so, we probably should just.
Because we have like cornhole things out there, which, I mean, if you're, then those giant ping pong tables and paddles and, there's a lot more outdoor stuff that I
Yeah.
feel like a piano could kind of fit in with, maybe.
Yeah, well, we have two
Especially
now
next to
too.
the chess game, right?
Yeah, we're next to the chess game.
Wow.
It's a problem. To be honest with you, the other problem is weather,
I don't know
Yeah,
whether,
so.
but I think they let option like,
Well, what we did in Lancaster, we actually built a case for them. Like, we had some that were under eaves. Like if you we had a sponsor program, so like if you had a store, you could sponsor one, and then we actually had an artist that would paint it, like, if you had it had your logo on it, and then they'd paint it, flowers or what, like the artist painted it, whatever the artist wanted to paint it. And so we had like 6 of them down the boulevard. But the ones that were out in the boulevard, those had like a case that went, open top of them and rolling door.
So who-
So that they wasn't beat up by the weather so much, but they do deteriorate. I mean, they're sitting outside, so they deteriorate rather.
It's expected.
Yeah, it's
Who puts them
expected.
to bed at night? The
Well,
pianos.
so
yeah.
where we were at, we had park rangers that went around and like locked up the restrooms for a park, and so they would come
Oh.
by and like lock up the pianos too.
Who puts the cornhole to bed in the city?
And we don't.
Yeah, we don't put, yeah,
It just stays out.
yeah.
Just like the chess set, it
I
stays
don't stay
out.
out that late, so.
It just stays out.
It just stays out.
Piano could be painted with, come visit the Center for Performing Arts.
Oh, there we go.
One block away
1 block away this
Arrow.
way.
What's the Alice in Wonderland sign?
and put it in front of
and I-
Pascal.
Yeah, I think from like as a work item, like that kind of starts to become kind of like, it's making it more vague. I love, I'm not putting that word on you, Carol, but like I'm thinking just like ways to engage people in our, maybe consider ways to engage
Mhm.
people in our space, utilizing outdoor areas,
Activating.
activating our outdoor space, bring awareness to the Performing Arts Center.
That's kind of my question next is going back to the work plan, because we have a couple of items to put onto our work plan. Is one, so we have all of these listening sessions that are beautifully lining up right now. Talk about the 35th anniversary and as well as forgot my own word.
Activating.
Activating outside space. Do we want to call it, so in whatever order that so far the things that we have discussed, if anyone has comments on those 3 things. Again, it's these listening sessions with people who are currently attached to the center. Talk about the 35th, just initial planning, and then activating spaces. If my first question that I have is, do we want to use, are we ready to start like languaging and putting these onto the work plan, or how people have more things that they'd like to flesh out or questions about any of them or additional topics?
I had one additional one topic I didn't really hear is the budget for potential, I don't know if we want to say specifically receptions, but like activating the gallery space or something, maybe
Mhm.
the budget request. I don't know if that would go on the work plan, if that's just something staff would ask for.
It needs to go on the work.
I
Put
would
it on the
agree.
work plan so that it
So that's-
drives.
My
the
question is,
request.
how do we want to go about talking about the activating these different spaces? Do we want to parse out one specifically, because that technically would be in joint with the visual arts committee? So technically could come down the road, but for now, kind of thinking about, so that's why I wasn't sure, because it's a joint effort, that would
Yes,
be
I
my
think
question.
Maybe we think, to not like boil the ocean, maybe we think about how we activate the space around the Performing Arts Center as a first thing that could be in our own purview. Maybe with a piano or, I know, Antara, you mentioned before, like some kind of multicultural festival or bring in some dance performers that might dance outside, to, you know, bring interest to the center or something. Edgar Allan Poe reading, like there's all kinds of ideas, but maybe as an agenda item, it's like we talk about, or not as an agenda item, as a work plan item, discuss how to activate the outdoor spaces and bring, I don't know, not attention, but bring awareness of that. And the Performing Arts Center specifically, not just our committee.
Do we do any kind of summer solstice type thing? Like, I'm wondering if we could align all 4 of our events with this.
Potential next year?
We don't have anything centered around them.
I just really like seasonal things as
I
opposed
agree,
to
yeah.
quarterly, because quarterly is just so corporate in my mind. Because I feel like season is touchy feeling being in the space, so.
Holistic.
Yeah, so like it's our summer solstice, whatever it is, and have whatever we decide.
You can't get away from the solstice, that sun's right there, so it takes everybody.
I do like that seasonal gallery reception.
Exactly,
Mhm.
seasonal, you know,
And,
like it's
you know,
our fall one.
we might not necessarily hit one of the solstice or
Right.
equinoxes, but
We can hit one solstice and then everything is fall, winter, whatever, you know, like finding around.
and then I think what I heard from you, David, earlier was also on a speaker series or some other like.
So what I wrote down for like the listening, I have vitality program rollout,
Mhm.
January of 2026. And then the other listening was performers using of the center and 35th anniversary, because we're gonna want them to participate. And then the third one was 35th anniversary, new audiences, new programs.
Mhm.
Like, what would they tell us that, you know, they might wanna see? You know, cause I think you can come at it, I'm using the 35th as kind of like the, you know, the teaser, so to speak, but I think it's one of those, like, we've been here for 35 years. We're gonna be here for another 35 years. What would you wanna see?
Mhm.
You know, like,
And then additionally, I have the park stage as another one, but that could be down the road, but
yeah, I mean, it's not like we can't put it on the work plan, but I would,
I'm just kind of, if we're,
Yeah.
just as we're talking about listening sessions to know.
Oh, we could incorporate it in one of the listening sessions, maybe for performers, like,
Well, and it'd be great.
oh, no, just, I think you're thinking the same thing.
Yeah, and then we could also do a presentation about what the park state offers if we are directly going to do any outreach to educators, just so that people are clear kind of the
Mhm.
limitations. And benefits.
Well, one thing that's always puzzled me is that on the PAC page of the city's website, it talks about general functions of the Performing Arts Committee,
Excellent.
which really aren't related to our work plan ever, and they change, and I don't know how they get up there. But one of the things they've got now is increasing community involvement in the performing arts by raising awareness and facilitating the use of city-owned and operated performing arts venues by Mountain View-based community and/or other local organizations with special attention to underserved and/or underprivileged residents. So that's kind of a mouthful, but that's one
Yeah.
thing they say.
Who's getting marketing these things? How's this reaching? I mean, like,
I
that's
don't know.
fine, but how does it getting there? It's not on us, right?
Is this a city website?
This is a city
yeah, that's a city
website.
website. Oh, there we go.
We're-
We're
let's put the-
buried, we're buried in the.
Let's put those on our work plan.
Yeah.
Promoting synergy between performing artists, performing arts professionals, and the community through outreach programs. Hey.
Hey.
There you go.
So do we want to call that activation/outreach programs?
Yes, I like that. I like that language a lot.
Yeah,
But the 35th anniversary is its own little thing though, because it's coming up, so we
Yes.
might as well put it on as its own.
Yes.
But I did, that's one that, and it just depends, I don't know how we want to do about funding, but it's a question that I think we need to tackle specifically if there's something in activation coming along down the pipe. Again, we're gonna need funding either in the 35th or for the outreach programs, just they're not gonna happen without. It's just a matter of where we want to ask it, I think, or how.
Yeah, I think having something on the work plan may make the budget request more meaningful.
Okay,
I mean,
Right.
just because you're not like, we just want money for what, I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
but we're not being that big, but we want to do seasonal gallery receptions
Mhm.
and outreach. Is kind of seems like and outreach and that outreach give us a little flexibility for different things.
okay, there's one thing about the city's policy with some of these. Some funding with committees and commissions, as far as I know. When PAC had money from the fundraiser that we did, and few bucks left over from some old grant. It was carried forward every year, but that's not the normal way of, the city does business. Usually they wipe everything clean and then, you know, your next allotment for the next year is what you've got.
Yeah, I had to fight to keep, you got $800.
Do we still have that? I was
Yeah,
afraid
had
to ask.
I had to fight to keep it in there. So I'll
Yay!
have to Fight again this
Well,
year.
I
We
worked
haven't
very
done it
hard
yet.
on that
'Cause it was really
fundraiser.
helpful. I was hoping that we would have gone forward with the three committees and we would have maybe done the gallery reception by now, and that would have been our really, like.
Exactly.
Here we got some money. We
Right,
can,
okay.
You know, but
how many years has it been?
what I'm gonna be honest about is I'm not sure if I can win that fight again this year.
That's fine.
Well,
We
let's
can,
spend
What if we have
then.
something, what if we have
By
something
July
in the
1st.
works, so it looks like, oh, we do need the money, cause look, we've already had a meeting with these 3 groups, we've already put a date on the calendar.
We're talking July 1.
but
Oh, we have
additionally,
to have this by July 1.
Like keep the money, yeah.
Keep the money.
Well,
the fiscal year's ending, yeah.
yeah, I mean, I can, I don't know. We fought last year and won, but.
Well, now you
I'm
have
not sure if
more
we-
ammunition because we've got the stuff that we're gonna get approved on our work plan and we have collaboration in the works with other programs that are funded.
Like I said, either way, at some point, council will need to fund something for the
Yeah.
revitalization of downtown. So
Yeah.
I'm not, but that's why, so I do think it would behoove us then to put under, then to put that, I don't know how to language this is the only thing. Is either the 35th anniversary aspect to talk about some council fund for it. Or some council fund for the activation and outreach programs. Because again, there's no way that these happen without council funding in some way, but do we put it in both or singular, just one of them? So, yeah, so those are my two areas that I'm curious about. There we go.
I think both make sense. And I like how we've kind of woven the 35th anniversary into like our listening topics, but I think there also needs to be some kind of concrete planning and discussions about like what we want to do that would be
Mhm.
on the work plan. I think maybe also suggest a work plan item, since we're all just surprised we have $800. Like maybe as a work
You may
plan.
not, though. That's what I'm trying to say.
We may not, but maybe as a work plan item, as an ad hoc item is review of any budget and on track, whatever, how we're on track for spending it for the year or.
Whose budget?
Well, you said we had $800, we didn't know we had. So maybe if there was a work plan item where, I don't know, we talked about any budget we did
They
have.
might be gone before.
Oh,
By
that's
the
true.
time we meet again.
So, and I mean, it does, so again,
I mean, that was the argument that we had last year, was that we were trying to do this trio, you know.
And we just haven't
committee thing,
finished.
And then
Okay.
we were hoping that, you know, we would be able to use that. And then that, it's just been really hard to get.
Do you wanna say we're planning for 35th anniversary then? Use that?
no, well, I think we should ask for more
For more,
money.
we may have to say goodbye
So
to
we've
that.
been saving up because we want.
Well, are those two separate issues though?
What?
Because the 800, keeping the $800 and asking for a new award.
They probably are two separate, to be honest.
Mhm.
Like,
I agree.
I mean, I'm probably speaking out of school a little bit here, but I would just assume that that money, like, we may not win that fight, so just ask for more. Just ask for
That's- yeah.
different money.
Yeah, I think we should just ask for different money
And
for
if-
four
and-
quarterly.
And then,
events.
well, and then where I'm going is then let's, for sake of conversation, you guys ask for 2,500 and they go, well, we can't give them that. Well, then let's keep the 800 and give them.
Yeah.
1,700, whatever.
You know.
Yeah.
And then you can just remind them of what they wrote on the website, whoever that is, whoever's.
Yeah, whoever wrote
organization.
that.
So,
You know who does this?
I actually, honestly, like in the moment, I'm like, where did that come from? So I'm gonna have to do.
I'm looking at it periodically and it changes. I don't
John just,
save, what it said, but it's like, this is.
But I know.
I know.
But it's kind of one of those like I know who our webmaster is and he's really good at like I can't imagine that he changed it.
Well,
in that
no,
conversation
he's,
with us.
no.
But I would also like, I don't know, I'm just.
there was an additional,
didn't realize
ad
that you-
hoc for regarding money though. Cause that, so just logistically talking, if we're gonna, we're almost done with this, I think. But if funding is coming into PAC, then it does behoove us to at some point create some sort of ad hoc aspect to see that directly
We
how.
need to have like an
Yeah.
ad hoc. budget.
So, that's what I was just mentioning. I don't think that needs to go on our work plan, but, or does it?
I don't know.
Because we're fully intending for.
Fully intending to get budget, then do we have to have a?
But you would get the budget and then they create a budget ad hoc.
Okay. That
Just
would
need
need
the
to
budget.
Oh, I'm just wondering if it's beneficial to also put it as a line item for our work plan though. We haven't had one and I mean, it also fully intends that we are planning to have funding.
Mm.
So ad hoc creation. Or budgeting.
I mean, 'cause we already have technically, even though we're not using it, we do have a budget right now.
I mean, and that's just.
True,
Yeah.
we do.
We'd have to use it pretty quickly.
I mean,
What are we doing tonight? No. Quick, everybody, come to the Performing Arts Center.
Imagine if we get that type of community, that'd be great. So I just,
Yes.
a budgeting ad hoc could be a fourth thing. Some level of, yeah. Because we'll need event management as well, so that's just the fourth item, I would say.
And for what it's worth, the BPAC gets this budget, I think it's called TDR funding, that we are given the option usually annually to bank the funding and roll it over and fund projects. And that is a pretty, it comes from some grants, I believe, so there's a little restriction. We can only carry the money for like 3 or 4 years. But we banked it once for improvements of the Shoreline Villa intersection, and that was, I think, 250,000. It's not like we couldn't go do a bike rodeo or something with that money, but
Yeah.
but we could, there was a process for rolling it over if we had specific things we wanted to save it for.
Real quick. So we're keeping the art and wine is correct. And are we changing the languaging on that?
actually, I wanted to ask what's happening between now and when we come back in August
The work
Yeah.
plan?
in the art and wine line item specifically, like, are we finding out about the cost of getting a booth? Is
Mhm.
that something we want to know by the next time we come back?
Well, and then the
Well,
question,
especially if are we participating in 2025? Cause that's September, that's like.
well, so, right, so it's tomorrow, so
Well,
I,
it's something we could spend $800.
That's true.
That's true, actually.
I think the booth costs more than $800.
I think it is too.
I think we're gonna be in the free speech area. I think it should not cost us, truth be told, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, like
You're
over
gonna
by
need
like Ava's.
That's true. Oh, no, don't be misconstrued here. I don't think the booth will cost us, but that's not to say other materials. But, no, but, I also think I don't think it will.
Okay, so we're not thinking 25 for the art and wine as well? I thought we were.
I think we can.
I think we can, just something simple, just as a.
I was gonna say, so what I'm gonna forewarn is that it has to be something simple because
Yeah.
we are slammed in September. And
So-
that's always been my hesitation for this, to be honest, because if this body's looking for staff support,
Well, so
I've got Spune in the building, I've got like,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like, we're slammed in September, that's the opening of season.
So we just have to be prepared,
Yeah, I
but we have
mean,
time.
it's not like we can't support you. I just don't want you
So
to
do
like.
we want an ad hoc or can the ad hoc, I mean, the staff would have to facilitate, but we could have an ad hoc for just Art and Wine so that two members can communicate.
Mhm.
Maybe that's something that we do, so we change this to the Art and Wines Festival 2025 ad hoc creation. Can we,
Then figure out what that ad hoc committee figures out what on earth we can do in a short timeframe that's not super demanding of staff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, my suggestion is like, this is our first time, so like maybe we come up with a fact sheet, that kind of talks about who we are and the 35th anniversary is coming up. Would you like to be involved? And, just like
Yeah.
kind of grassroots down and dirty,
Mhm.
you know?
life is
Trying to get to the
Yeah,
chamber
violin
website.
player to stand and student violinist.
We can have volunteers, I mean, but also that would be something that the ad hoc could coordinate, right?
Yeah.
But,
Mhm.
and, okay. But then we'd have to just double check with staff that like,
But we might
And then
not,
there's also, what I'll also throw out there is like we have the chamber school, it's going out of my head. That they played
you
for
tell
the
me his
volunteer
connects?
dinner.
Oh,
Cal Conservatory. Cal
What?
Conservatory, California Conservatory.
Yeah.
Yeah, they played for the volunteer dinner, but like
Oh,
they have teachers. And kind of where I'm going
Yeah.
is like, if we had them come and like play a little bit, we could hand out their materials, and that would be mutually beneficial.
could we?
There's also
Why
the,
couldn't we?
No.
If we have booths.
and would we need to form this ad hoc committee?
That's what I was wondering, can we create an ad hoc committee? It's not agenda, it's just a problem. Oh,
You do a motion?
we could not have anticipated this,
no, but we can.
so,
Well, we can wait, we can also do it under updates, right? We don't
but then
do
we
it now.
have to wait
There's
until
no actions.
August and the thing's
Yeah.
Oh.
September.
Yeah, like we can, yeah. like-
The motion now?
to create an ad hoc,
Okay.
art.
No,
Let's
when
put our-
we motion to add it,
To the agenda.
yeah.
Oh, yes, we
Yeah,
can.
we motion to add it to the agenda.
Okay, so we have a list of things to add to this agenda?
Yeah, today's agenda.
Oh.
Oh, to today's
Or
agenda.
to make an ad hoc, you gotta make a motion that we're revising the agenda to add that we're gonna do an ad hoc, to form an ad hoc committee, and then we can.
So
Okay.
can I move I would like to move to add an agenda item to today's meeting to discuss creating an ad hoc committee to prepare for the September 2025 Art and Wine Festival in City Hall.
But
Just making an agenda item.
yes,
I,
is
I
there,
do need a second. for
I can
that.
I second that.
and all in favor?
Aye.
So where does the
So we're
item go?
still
Yeah, we're still,
We're
okay,
still on this agenda item, but
Okay.
now that's our next agenda. item.
excellent,
That's
6.2.
6.2.
Wow,
Yes.
okay, great.
Wow.
So here's-
How powerful
Haven't
we
done that in
are.
a while.
So,
6.1.
well, let's just double check again, so. So develop listening sessions, again, 35th anniversary, Dewey, activation and outreach program,
You want me to take a picture?
you want this?
Yes, please.
And then, okay,
Sure.
so just because what
That
I would, of what I've been taking based on our conversation.
Can I just go to the bathroom real quick?
Do we need to read everything? Yes, you.
I don't need to recess as long as there's still 3 of us, yeah.
That's
Okay.
true.
Let's go to the bathroom.
Great. Okay, sorry, is there anything regarding languaging on these items so that we want to discuss now, or anything that a committee member has about the languaging for the items that are going onto the work plan?
So what I'll say is that we can get a draft put together.
Excellent.
And then, when it comes back in August, because we have to approve it, right? Yeah, so it comes back in August, and then, basically we can look at the language then and mold the language and fine tune it and then approve it and then it goes on.
Okay, excellent.
Okay, that sound good?
Okay.
Yeah.
We can move on to then item 6,
I really
Yes.
still do need a motion just to approve that.
Yes.
Drafted.
the draft.
Yes, technically we have written down some. drafting.
Okay,
Yes.
so I make a motion to approve the draft with
Wait.
the revisions that No, that's not my motion. I move to approve staff making revisions that we discussed at the meeting tonight, to the draft work plan for final approval in August. Is that a motion?
Final approval in August?
What did I say?
The final approval in August.
To bring back, yeah.
Is there a second?
Valerie, I second.
Sorry,
Where's the-
Alondra, can you review the motion again, just that we have on Tara here as well?
Yeah, the committee or this committee or sorry, Vice Chair Carol Donahue makes a motion to for staff to approve the
Draft.
sorry, for staff to draft the revisions for the work plan draft in 25-26, and to bring back the drafted physical work plan for the next meeting in August.
So that's correct. And then we're on the
I
vote.
will shorten that in the.
I thought I got everything.
Sorry.
And then-
I know, I will shorten it.
all right.
So Carol Dunn, committee member Dunn, yes, and then, okay, we're ready for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously. Good work, folks. That was excellent. Amazing. Okay, we are on to now item 6.2, which we just created. Talking about ad hoc for the downtown, not downtown, for the art and wine.
6.2?
We just added it. That's what we motioned
That's
for.
one we
That's
had.
a special meeting. I'm looking at the wrong thing.
Yeah, but we have to, you
It's not
have
on there, we just added it.
Exactly.
Do we have a date for the art and wine festival?
I'm looking at the.
Let's see.
Yes.
There's already 6.2.
It is September,
What is this art wine?
it would be the 13th, 14th. No, Labor Day is Monday, the 1st. So it'll be the first weekend. It's the 6th and 7th,
Yes, the 6th and 7th.
6th and 7th.
Put it in my calendar.
Six and seven. Okay. Is there any, we don't need to flesh out what the ad hoc committee exactly is going to do.
No, we just need to appoint, 2 members need to be appointed and then we can have a meeting. So whoever wants to be on that.
Yes, is there any volunteers for the ad hoc who would like to look at that?
I mean, I'd love to be a part of it. I just feel like I don't really know the ropes well enough to.
Make us do this is something kind of new, right?
It's, yeah, do you mean just kind of with some of the things coming down the pipe regarding the,
Even just kind of how committees work, the flow
Oh.
of things, like, even just me going to the bathroom, I didn't know that we would have to recess if.
no, we didn't, we were good.
Like,
Yeah.
but even that, like, I'm
Mhm.
not familiar with how things work and flow, but I'd love to be part of it though.
I hear a volunteer in that at the very
Yes,
least.
volunteer.
So the planning, it means like figuring out how much it's gonna cost. And
We have to
probably
approve that.
bugging Teresa about, what can we talk about or whatever.
I mean, it would come back to the body too before, I mean, we have August, yeah, so.
But we may have to pay for a booth or rent booth for then.
Yeah, for
That's
sure,
what-
yeah,
That
yeah.
would be authorizing the committee to kind of do things as necessary
Mhm.
time wise.
So and investigate the possibility of piggybacking with community services.
Or the downtown committee or visual arts.
If any of them are doing it.
Or there's an ice cream vendor then.
There is, I've heard.
you might be interested in doing something to draw awareness or something.
Oh, I'm interested.
Oh, that, I have to be on every.
I mean, I'm also, I could also, yeah, either way, I'm just wondering, you know, logistically between the labor that we have shared, so I just kind of curious.
Well, when are we gonna have when are we gonna finalize the Vitality Grant thing? I mean, meet again to like,
Well, my goal that this committee would finalize it in August.
so I don't need to meet with you again to look at
Mm-mm.
that
No,
stuff?
we're coming,
You and I are, the
Oh,
three of us
okay.
are gonna have a little conversation after this is done.
Okay,
So
You're gonna have an ad
there's
hoc
things you
meeting.
guys need to know. You're gonna have a
Are you
little mini
away?
ad hoc.
Are you away before September? Are you available?
I wish I could,
yeah, I just
I
got back.
can't
from a
seem to
trip.
get into the Chamber of Commerce because I was just.
Sure, I'll be on the ad hoc committee.
There's two.
There we go.
No, I was gonna raise.
Oh, you
my
can,
hand.
oh, you can as well. I was,
Yeah, I wasn't-
it's not binding, this isn't binding
No, I
yet.
didn't vote or anything.
No, it's just, yeah,
I
we
said,
don't
I
vote.
I will also volunteer, so you have 3 volunteers, but you can only
Excellent.
have 2 because otherwise it becomes quorum, right?
Yes.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, I love this. Excellent.
You don't have to be one of them.
No, and I shan't.
So then I can withdraw,
From what?
basically.
If you'd like.
Did you say that?
We didn't vote, it's just volunteer based.
I volunteered.
You volunteered,
but she volunteered and we haven't voted yet, so we're good.
I thought there's no vote. There's volunteer based. For ad hoc.
Who
We're
are we
done.
voting for? now?
Nobody.
There's no vote?
Don't we have to approve it? It's an agenda item. We're making.
But you can only
Yes, we'll
approve
vote.
2 people.
No, that's not what I'm saying. We still have to.
Oh, the
you don't
creation
have-
of the ad hoc.
Yeah, you have to approve the creation of the ad hoc committee and we have 2 volunteers. And so someone just needs to make a motion that says the 2 volunteers are,
I've been
you
chosen.
have to approve it.
The ad hoc committee, but it's not you're not bound, so. Yeah, so
Yeah, we
moved.
were in discussion.
Yes.
Yes.
So, and the other discussion point I have is just because I have done this before on a prior committee and we got a lot of people walking up and asking questions, so I'd love to help organize it. Ish. With your guidance.
Happy to have you.
So then we have
So then
2 volunteers
Mhm.
now, because Carol, you withdrew
Well,
or not?
how, are you really strongly, you don't want to do it or you
No,
do
I
it?
do, I am happy to do it, but I'm in all transparency. Kind of the rules and how things are navigated, I'm not familiar, but if somebody else is familiar, I'm happy to support.
Well,
I mean, I feel like it's a-
Valerie seems really familiar with the whole Art and Wine Festival thing. And I don't think that in the next month, the ad hoc committee has to figure out what we're gonna talk about and all that sort of stuff. We're gonna decide on those things perhaps in August.
No, I think the reason why we're forming an ad hoc committee is because we need to make decisions before August.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's
Come
why,
in with the decisions.
Come in with the info of how much it costs and.
or maybe even possibly already have reserved space,
Mhm.
depending on how timing works.
And would
Yeah.
that tie into our $800 that's left over? Like,
If
can
we can
we?
spend it in the next 3 days or whatever.
But today's well, yeah, I mean.
Oh,
you
yeah, it
just-
takes a while to
You
get
just
it
call the
out of the
chamber,
city.
but
Well, yeah,
Potentially,
that'd be
but-
great.
So,
So I think this is a great way to activate
won't
our
work.
members.
no,
Okay.
Hang on, guys, it won't work. It
yeah,
won't work because we're past, if I purchase or do anything now, it goes.
Can't do
into
anything on
fiscal.
P cards or.
yeah, that's,
Okay.
it's past the.
So it's past that.
PR deadline, remembered that. So maybe, Teresa, could you give us a slight overview of what it means to be on an ad hoc committee? And I think that might help our other members decide if she would like to participate.
So basically, in this case, it's the Art and Wine Festival, and so then the ad hoc committee gets together. And decides like, okay, I mean, obviously with this one, it's gonna be like, okay, how much does it cost? What can we do? What's this gonna look like? And then basically comes back to the whole body and says, this is what we've lined up, this is what we plan on doing, this is how we need everybody else's support, this is what we're gonna do. We just can't all meet, cause it's a Brown Act, we just can't all meet together, so that's why we divided into 2. And so then you guys are just kind of in charge of like, okay, this is what we can do, and then obviously we have meetings. These guys did the second stage vitality program, we have multiple meetings. And then obviously staff supports, the meetings. And we take, notes and make sure that we're coming back to the body and presenting what we're not doing.
So the meetings would just be you and me? Okay.
With staff.
And YouTube and stuff. Okay.
I will say procedure wise, it's very informal into this.
I
We don't
see,
have to do
yeah.
motions or
Adhoc's
anything.
very like,
Yeah, it's just a conversation.
Should we
really.
also have discussions without staff? If she and I just wanted to do a little brainstorming or?
Well, you
should
can
it be
anyways.
with
Yes.
staff?
So you're not bound by the Brown Act.
Yes, you
Okay,
can.
it's just two of us.
Okay.
It would just have to be to that one topic
Right.
that you're
Okay.
meeting on.
And then
I
bring
see.
it to the ad hoc committee and then bring it here before we go and talk to everybody, so we don't have a serial meeting.
Correct.
Like if you and I have a great conversation, we're like, we have these great ideas, let's go tell David, now we've just made a
Right.
3-person.
Now, what happens if her and I are talking about this particular festival and we end up incorporating the downtown committee and visual arts ideas that we have? Is that moving into a different topic and therefore we're not allowed to talk about it?
You can talk about whatever you want,
I
and then the
think-
staff would
yeah.
also relay it though, essentially, if it's something that needs to be relayed through, because it's another department, staff, I think would have to relay it.
what I'm gonna say is like the likelihood of that happening this year is
Yeah.
slim to none.
course.
I like where you're headed.
Yeah.
That's a 26.
Sure.
Because we're having a dickens of a time just getting in the room or on Zoom all together at the same time.
Right.
So, what I'm gonna say is this year is gonna be fast and furious
Sure.
and kind of, clean and sweet is what I
Yeah,
like to
yeah.
say, because it's just we're gonna have to come up what we're gonna do.
Mhm.
This is the information we're gonna hand out. This is where we're gonna be and go, because, as far as planning goes, it's tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know. So that's really the urgency of having the ad hoc committee together.
Right.
so
And
that
it-
we
and it
can
may
figure
be-
that stuff out.
We spend time on it and find out it's too late for this year and
Sure.
we make
Which is possible,
recommendations
yeah.
for next year.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, and
Yeah.
yeah, that's a big, completely valid point. I mean, we
Right.
might be coming back in August and going, okay, here's everything we've learned.
Which is
Yeah.
great.
And it's all great for 26, like,
Yeah.
like it's too much,
Okay.
to do in this truncated timeline.
So we just
We
need
don't
a,
know that yet, though.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
we just need a motion to create the ad hoc committee.
Correct.
Can I move?
Anyone can move.
All right, I would like to move to make an ad hoc committee to explore participating in the 2025 Part One Festival with a small booth to bring awareness to Performing Arts Committee.
Second.
And do you have to name the members when you make that motion?
I don't think we do.
No, they volunteer.
Mhm.
Okay.
That'll be reflected.
I vote yes and I volunteer.
Okay, all in favor?
All right.
I'm in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Great.
And I volunteer. Yay.
Yes, excellent. Good learn. It's good. Okay, on to item 7, correct? Yes?
Yes,
I'm trying to adjourn the meeting. Okay,
you're doing great.
it's about to hit the gavel though. Okay. Committee staff announcements, updates, requests, committee reports, needs, facts. What is happening with the, I know we talked about what's going on with the downtown stuff, just staff we're just waiting on staff.
So basically, it's just been a struggle getting everybody together.
Okay.
And then obviously, because we have downtown committee and those folks are working, and then we have other folks, we're kind of like night and day, so to speak.
Mhm.
And then it just, Kirsten finally, Kirsten just basically asked for help and said, they're maxed out. Their plates are really full right now. Because they don't have a manager. And so they're kind of doing double work. So they asked Alondra to help. So now we're gonna do the doodle poll. We're gonna try and get us in a room together, or maybe it's a room and Zoom.
Right.
Whatever we need to do, to get the committee together so we can start talking. about this. And ideas.
I'm curious also if it's possible to, Carol, that's you and I, correct? That's the downtown.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think we should pull the work plans as well. I don't know if we haven't met. I mean, do we want to meet ahead to also,
oh, there,
yeah.
yeah,
Do we, because I think we don't, I'm curious to kind of see what's happening just ahead of what it might be helpful, it might not, but I think if we could hold a meeting, actually just this ad hoc would be beneficial.
Just you two to just.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to kind of get
we
ahead
can
of
talk
it too.
to it. We don't have to actually be formally on it.
That's true. I mean,
Yeah,
I was
just
also
to-
gonna reach out to you, but I just haven't. I'm mentioning it now though, but. Let's get together.
We can talk about,
Cause it's on all 3 work plans.
yeah.
Right,
To get together, but it just hasn't happened.
I'm just, very curious if we're gonna walk in, so tell me kind of the logistics. So in truth be told, this is where my train of thought is. We're gonna walk in and talk about revitalization, and is staff offering us direction? Are we offering direction? Are we just going to come in and so I'm curious about direction ahead of the meeting actually. And would, I think it's within, this is a PAC. Interest venture type thing. So I'm just curious on kind of what we're going in with essentially, but and we've been all working on downtown revitalization is on the strategic plan, so I'm kind of curious, and I'm bringing it up too now just to also like bring awareness to the whole committee that, what is our participation in the revitalization of downtown as a committee, thinking about that strategically together. Just a conversation that I wanted to put into the room. Again, because I could see us walking in and walking out with happy memories, and I would like us to have more than happy memories. Is my thought. But yeah, so that was just kind of the thing, but we can tug along on that. I wish we had a meeting kind of for August, but it's just July, I guess, so. That's okay, but I just wanted to bring that up. Either pulling the stuff, but we could just,
I will throw this out here because we did it last year. We had a special meeting in July because we were working on the resident
right.
coming program. So, depending on what happens with the ad hoc committee,
Mhm.
like if it's like.
Oh, that's
a
true.
A decision needs to be made
Mhm.
before then in order to move forward. Like we do have time to move forward, but we need to
Right.
make a decision. Then we just call a special meeting.
Okay.
It's not the end of the world.
No,
We
yeah.
don't normally meet.
We had a lot of meetings last year.
We did. We had quite a few special meetings.
And special
Yeah.
meetings, exactly. For a special committee. Okay, that was just a thought,
We
so
got
that's
her
great.
done though.
Yes, we did.
That's all that matters.
So just thinking about ahead as we continue to move forward with the revitalization as to how us as a committee have an elevator pitch essentially as to what our role is. But just can be an ongoing conversation. That was my thing. Okay. Do we have any other updates, announcements?
Well, I saw the Best of San Francisco Comedy Friday night when you were at the concert. And it was really good. It was sold out, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. We added chairs.
Wow.
Second stage,
Yes.
Yeah.
I used to watch them on Zoom. In the pandemic, that group.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. And I saw their announcement, I thought it was gonna be in San Francisco, and then I saw later it was actually.
Yeah.
It's the first time we've had that group here. And they
They'd
did
like to
very
come
well.
back.
They did very well. And we want them back.
Well, they had who's a really great MC. And I like the way they the program ran, basically with the less experienced comics first, and whatever. And not too many women comics, but
That's the lay of the land so far.
yeah.
It's a brutal, that's brutal. Poor friend of mine, so. You just gotta have nerves of steel.
Thick skin.
Yeah, very
Well,
thick.
they kept saying you are a great audience. And I was thinking afterwards, I've never been at a thing where they just kept complimenting the audience. And I thought, well, maybe because we're all sober.
Everything was land.
Paying attention and laughing.
I'm just thinking that it
It
was a
was
show.
primarily Zoom, I think. I mean, I haven't followed everything, but they did Zoom well past when people were still going back in. That's, you can't hear the audience.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah,
Oh,
in
yeah.
there, yeah,
Oh, that's rough.
yeah.
So, I don't know, they obviously are back to doing stuff in person, which is great.
Kind of hard to refine a comedy act if you don't get audience feedback.
Yeah, did that land like lead or did that like?
Oh, you have the little windows up on a big screen so they can see people going.
Thumbs up, thumbs down.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I went to the event out in the square and it was really good and well attended. A lot of people brought their own chairs and
Mhm.
I'd say there was not enough chairs, but a lot of people brought their own. So my husband and I had to take turns using our chair and it was all right. Then we just got up and danced a bit and it was really nice. And we also went to San Francisco. We saw a 5-piece New Orleans Jazz Band. And they were renting a space in, I think it's called the Palace Theater in Chinatown, right on the edge of North Beach. And they had a show from 5 to 6 p.m., a show from 7 to 8 p.m., a show from 10 p.m. And they packed and sold out.
Well,
So something like that might even, it was a smaller theater, but something like that, I wonder. I don't know, just
Interesting.
for a second stage, like it's a small thing, is it like the smallness made it kind of cooler.
Box.
Magic.
Magic thing. Any other update? I have to read it. Say. Okay, so if we're ready to adjourn. The next Performing Arts Committee meeting will be held on Wednesday, August 20th at 6:15 p.m. in the Atrium Conference Room, 500 Castor Street. This meeting is adjourned.
Did I take my notes?